What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is the birthday of Justin McElroy, fellow cereal lover and friend of mine. Justin is exactly 2 days younger than me. Happy 44th birthday, my friend. Alright, let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 10. Gabe Bowl. Last time I rolled this, people misheard and thought I said gay bowl. I'm not sure what that would be, maybe a rainbow colored bowl, but no, this is just a bowl with my name on it. Let's move on to the star of the show now and roll for cereal. 13. Honey Bunches of Oats. This cereal was first released by Post back in 1989, and it consists of 3 different grains of flakes and oat clusters all sweetened with honey. But we're not going to use the OG cereal today because there's a limited edition salted caramel flavor of Honey Bunches of Oats, so we'll pluck this one from the wall instead. This is just like the original, but that sweet and salty caramel flavor is more dominant than the honey flavor in this cereal. Alright, now let's break out the 2D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 6. Candy corn and 20. Player's choice. There's a Honey Bunches of Oats with almonds, so I think I'll play it safe and pick sliced almonds today. But first, let's add one of the more divisive Halloween candies. People either love or hate candy corn. I like them, but they can be a bit hard on the teeth for a cereal topping. Flavor-wise, they shouldn't clash too much with the salted caramel cereal. Next, we'll add some sliced almonds to this mix. Almonds are a great cereal topping, and they are right at home alongside the flakes and oat clusters of this cereal. Now we gotta stay away from the low numbers as we roll for drizzle. 12. None. Okay, I was kind of hoping for some flavored syrup that mixed well with these flavors, but Dice God said no drizzle today. Moving on to our last ingredient now, time to roll for milk. Son of a 1. Pocari Sweat. This is a Japanese sports drink similar to Gatorade. It has a citrusy flavor. Some say it leans a little more toward grapefruit than the traditional lemon lime hydration drinks. Before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 13. Tales from the Crypt Keeper. This was released on ABC back in 1993, and it was an adaptation of the Tales from the Crypt comic books and the HBO live action show. The HBO show started airing in 1989, and I watched it as a kid because my parents didn't really censor our TV. The cartoon obviously didn't have any of the blood, gore, profanity, or nudity that made the HBO show so good. This one had the Crypt Keeper telling more kid-friendly horror stories with a teachable lesson. It ran for 3 seasons with 39 episodes. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some Pocari Sweat and Moment of Truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Well, it had a pretty good chance up until that milk roll. The salted caramel Honey Bunches of Oats is really tasty, and I definitely recommend picking it up while it's still around. The almonds and candy corn actually pair well with the flavors of the cereal, no complaint there, but this citrus flavored Pocari Sweat just really ruins everything about this bowl. It's not inedible, but it's not good either. I'll give this one 1 star, and let's call it Honey Bunches of Nopes. One ingredient can really bring everything down. If I had rolled a regular milk option, I think this would have been in the 4-star range. Gotta figure out another option for that 1 slot besides Pocari Sweat. I have bone broth on the other milk list, not looking forward to rolling that one either. I hope you're entertained by these disasters. I prefer the good bowls, but I guess this keeps things interesting. I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National Drummer Day, so let's show some love to all our favorite drummers out there. Shout out to Questlove, still waiting for that cereal party invite from him. Let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 5. Crown Bowl. This is a new bowl that I just got recently from General Mills. They sent it to me for my birthday along with some birthday cake loaded cereal. Gotta be careful not to poke your eyes out while sipping up some milk at the end. Alright, let's move on to the star of the show now and roll for cereal. 8. Boo Berry, the 3rd monster cereal released and probably my favorite. Boo Berry hit shelves back in 1972, a year after Count and Frank were introduced. The original oat flour recipe is far superior to the current corn flour recipe, but Boo Berry is still my favorite of them all. This year they have special pet marshmallows, and Boo Berry has a cat named Meowberry. Halloween is over, but these monster cereals don't expire until summer 2025, so I get to keep enjoying them. Now let's grab 2D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 15. Mini Mochi and 10. Prize Inside. For those new here, Prize Inside is a box filled with cards, or prizes if you will. These cards feature different characters that you might recognize as references to classic cereal mascots. Each character gives us a task or unique ability. Like prizes in cereal boxes, some are good and some are bad. We'll draw 1 card and follow the instructions on it. The baker Pasta Party. This one says we have to swap out the cereal list for a pasta list during the next episode. I've rolled pasta as a topping before and it was pretty good, but never used it as a substitute for cereal before, so that'll be interesting. But for now, let's get these cards back into the prize inside box to be drawn another day, and we have to get back to this bowl where we still have one more wild card topping to add, and that was mini mochi, one of my favorite cereal toppings. I love these sweetened rainbow colored little glutinous nuggets. They're chewy with just a hint of sweetness, better than cereal marshmallows in my opinion. Moving on to the next ingredient now, time to roll for drizzle. 9. Marshmallow, another solid roll here. This Smucker's marshmallow sauce is a great topping for ice cream. This blueberry cereal already has marshmallows in it, but there's never anything wrong with adding more marshmallow to a bowl of cereal. And now we're on to our final ingredient, time to roll for milk. 7. Almond milk. Great rolls across the board today. This is my favorite milk alternative and probably the most popular roll in the series. But before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 5. Tiny Toon Adventures. This WB cartoon premiered back in 1990 and it was a favorite of mine. The show was set in the town of Acme Acres, where a bunch of characters attend Acme Looniversity to become the next generation of Looney Tunes characters. There's Babs and Buster Bunny, Plucky Duck, Hampton J. Pig, Elmira Duff, Montana Max. It was a great show with an amazing theme song. It ran for 3 seasons, about 100 episodes. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some almond milk, and now a moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Yes, they will. This is a home run combination here today. We didn't get any bad rolls, and this is delicious. You have the blueberry cereal paired with some chewy mochi and an extra sweet drizzle of marshmallow sauce. The only critique I can think of is that the bowl isn't big enough because I just want more of it. I'm giving this one 5 stars, and let's call it the dopest ghost. That's a reference to the 1995 movie Kids for my older heads out there. It's been a couple months since we got a 5-star bowl, and after last week's disaster, I'm very happy about this one. As I mentioned, you can't really sip up the milk afterward with this bowl because the crown will poke you in the face. I'm a little intrigued by this baker card. Back in episode 97, we got cooked pasta and it turned out really good. I love pasta, so I'm excited to see what we roll next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today will be a little different because we got this baker card during Prize Inside last episode, and it means we have to swap out the cereal list for a list of pasta. So I guess today we're doing Roll for Pasta. But as always, let's get things started with Roll for Bowl. 3. Plastic to-go bowl. This transparent, large plastic bowl comes from a local restaurant chain where they use it for salads, but it's a nice sized bowl for cereal and allows you to see all the ingredients and the milk. Now, instead of rolling for cereal today, we have 12 different pasta types on this list, and we'll break out the D12 and roll for pasta. 8. Cascatelli. This is a fun pasta shape. It was created recently in 2019 by Dan Pashman, a chef who hosts the Sporkful podcast. Cascatelli means little waterfalls in Italian, and that's what these shapes resemble. Apparently, Dan wanted to create a pasta that had good sauce ability, a good fork ability, and a good tooth sync ability. It's quickly become one of my favorite pasta shapes. With a little editing magic, let's get some boiled Cascatelli pasta in this bowl. You can see the shape here. They do kind of look like tiny waterfalls with those little ruffles on the side. Okay, enough about pasta. Let's grab 2 D20s and see what we'll be adding to this bowl as we roll for wildcard topping. 11. Fruit snacks and 20 player's choice. Since we got fruit flavor as one topping, I'm going to double down and add another fruit with blueberries for my player's choice. But first, let's grab some Mott's fruit snacks. These teach you Spanish on the package. Apparently, a sea turtle is La Tortuga Marina. There's about 5 or 6 little gummy fruit snacks here, and then we'll grab some fresh blueberries, and we'll get a handful of them poured onto the Cascatelli pasta. We got a fruit pasta salad going here. Next, we got a roll for drizzle. If we're ever going to get pesto, today would be the day to do it with this pasta. 11. Hot honey. This is just some chili pepper infused honey. I'm a fan of spicy honey. It's great on yogurt and it's actually really good on some pizzas too. Finally, on to our last ingredient now. It's time to roll for milk. 2. Strawberry milk. Well, I guess that kind of fits with the fruit and berry theme. Not exactly what you'd expect to add to a bowl of pasta, but that's what makes this series so fun. Before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 28. 2 Live Crew. This is a rap group from Miami, Florida, headed up by Luke Campbell. They released their debut album in 1986, but are best known for their third album called As Nasty As They Wanna Be, the first album in history deemed legally obscene and temporarily banned because of the lyrics. I remember getting that album when I was 10 years old and loving it. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some strawberry milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? pasta is made from grains and thus technically a cereal. This cascatelli pasta is so fun to eat. The blueberries and hot honey add a nice sweet and spicy addition, and the strawberry milk makes it feel like a whimsical dessert. The fruit snacks are the only strike here, a little too chewy and artificially flavored, but overall a success. I'm giving this 4.5 stars. I'm gonna call it Chasing Waterfalls.
I like it.
Previous commenters told me that in some Eastern European countries they do eat pasta with milk, so I guess we're not reinventing the wheel, but I do wish this caught on here in the US. It's not as convenient as cereal because you have to wait to cook the pasta. Anyway, that'll do it for the Baker card. Let's get rid of him, never to be drawn again. Next Friday, we're back to regular Roll for Cereal. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is Black Friday. I remember when people used to stampede the stores to get the newest Christmas toys the day after Thanksgiving. That doesn't really happen anymore though, does it? Alright, let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 7 MF Doom Bowl. I got this MF Doom cereal bowl from a company called Super 7 when they released a new MF Doom action figure to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Food album. It comes with a special spoon, which is the closest you'll get to me rolling for spoons, and of course the action figure of the late great rapper himself, MF Doom. Alright, let's move on to the star of the show now and roll for cereal. 7 again, add another cereal. So we'll grab 2 D20s now and see what cereal combo we get today. 3 Wheaties and 15 cookie butter. Alright, let's start with Wheaties. Originally released 100 years ago, way back in 1924, this General Mills classic is lightly sweetened wheat flakes, and this Breakfast of Champions features athletes on the front of the boxes. One of my first boxes I ever collected was a Detroit Pistons Bad Boys Wheaties box. This new one features young tennis star phenom Coco Gauff. And now let's grab our second cereal, which is the Walmart Great Value brand called Cookie Butter. These are little golden graham-like square pieces, but they're flavored like speculoos cookies, which have a fall spice flavor like a cinnamon nutmeg ginger mix. Let's get these two cereals mixed together well in this bowl. And now let's grab 2 D20s as we move on to roll for wild cards. 3 potato chips and 17 dried apricots. Could have definitely been worse. For potato chips, I have a bag of these original Lay's. We'll crumble up a handful of these chips onto the cereal. It's a little savory, which can be weird, but the saltiness sometimes adds a nice touch. Then we have these California Slab dried apricots from Trader Joe's. I'll take a few of them and then we'll get them diced up into smaller bite-sized pieces and add them to this weird salty and sweet mix of cereal we have going on here. Now let's move on to our next ingredient as we roll for drizzle. 6 kiwi. First time rolling this drizzle. I love kiwis, and fun fact, they have more vitamin C than an orange and more potassium than a banana. This green tart and tangy syrup should go well with the apricots, but not sure about the potato chips or cookie butter. Finally, we're on to our last ingredient now as we roll for milk. 6 soy milk. So I'm out of the individual vanilla soy milks I've been using, and today we just have some of this Westlife bean juice, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 4 Bob James, a jazz keyboard player and musician. Bob was discovered by Quincy Jones back in 1963 in Michigan. Bob James is perhaps most famous for his influence of hip-hop music. His songs have been sampled by so many great hip-hop producers over the years. If you listen to one of his earlier albums, you'll hear so many recognizable riffs and excerpts from some of your favorite rap songs. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some soy milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? I don't really know about this one. The kiwi and apricots have a nice tang to them, but that tart fruit doesn't pair well with the cookie butter cereal, and the salty potato chips are just kinda weird. It's a mishmash of some weird flavors that don't really work well together. Sorry Doom, this bowl doesn't cut it. I'm only gonna give this one 2.5 stars, but let's call it cereal. That's a tribute to Doom's classic album. I was hoping we could have rolled KMD today to celebrate him, but at least we have this cool bowl and I guess kinda cool spoon, even if the cereal didn't live up to expectations. Also, if you've never listened to Doom's music, I highly recommend checking him out. He's one of the best. I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is the birthday of Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks are looking kind of rough this season, but maybe they'll turn it around by playoff time. Alright, let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 12 Spilt Milk Bowl, still my favorite bowl to eat cereal out of. This white silicone bowl is available for purchase at genuinefred.com again, or on Amazon or the TikTok shop. Alright, moving on to the star of the show now, let's roll for cereal. 2. Alpen. So this is a muesli that was created by the Weetabix company in England back in 1971. For those who don't know, muesli is a breakfast cereal of Swiss origin containing rolled oats, nuts, and fruit. It's kind of like granola, but I think granola is technically baked, where muesli is eaten raw. This Alpen cereal came to Canada in the 70s from England and eventually came here to the US in the 90s after Weetabix formed a partnership with Barbara's Bakery. Alright, let's break out the 2D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 8. Kettle corn, and 14. Granola. I guess first we'll add the kettle corn. So I have this small bag of Boom Chicka Pop kettle corn. This savory and sweet popcorn will be a nice flavor addition to the Alpen muesli. And now for the granola, I feel like this is that exhibit meme. Yo dog, I hear you like oats and nuts, so we put more oats and nuts into your oats and nuts so you can granola while you muesli. Anyway, on to the next ingredient now. Time to roll for drizzle. 8. Caramel or caramel. I have this dairy-free caramel sauce that is made with coconut milk, but it's still pretty delicious. I'll soften it up in the microwave and then drizzle this caramel sauce over the oats, nuts, dried fruit, and popcorn. Interesting mix here. Let's move on to the final ingredient now as we roll for milk. 2. Banana milk. This plant-based banana and cinnamon milk from Mooala is a good pairing with some cereals. I think it might work here, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 3. Turbo Teen. This cartoon premiered back in 1984 on ABC Saturday Morning, and it was about a teenager named Brett Matthews who swerves off the road during a thunderstorm, crashes into a secret government laboratory where a molecular beam fuses him to his red sports car. He then uses that superpower to fight crime and go on adventures. The show ran for one season with 13 episodes before it was canceled. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some banana milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So it's not that I don't like muesli, it's just never a cereal I grab when there's so many better options. That being said, this mix of rolled oats, nuts, and dried fruit is pretty tasty when topped with some sweet and salty popcorn and that caramel sauce. But the banana milk is the key ingredient here. It goes really well with that caramel sauce. I'm gonna give this 4 stars, and let's call it Banoffee Hippie. It kind of tastes like a banoffee pie, with granola and muesli acting as the pie crust or base and allowing the caramel and banana flavors to shine. And you can see that muesli really soaks up all that milk, so there's nothing to sip up at the end. I prefer my cereal to stay crunchy. I'll see you back here next Friday for another roll for cereal. Until next time, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Apparently today is Ice Cream Day, but National Ice Cream Day is in July, so I'm not sure who also labeled December 13th as Ice Cream Day. Seems like some weird marketing ploy. Anyway, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 7. Wooden bowl. We got this nice wooden bowl made out of jujube wood. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's good for rice bowls and great for cereal. Speaking of, let's move on to the star of the show now and roll for cereal. 4. Monsters Frightful Friends. So this Halloween cereal from General Mills came out a few months ago, and it's just a rehash of their Monster Mash cereal they've done in years past. It's a combo of different monster cereals with an array of colorful marshmallows. This year, they're shaped like the monster's pets. The flavor of this fruity cereal is somewhere between Boo-Berry and Frankenberry, leaning a little closer to Boo-Berry. Alright, let's grab 2D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 15 raisins and 17 mini mochi. First, we have some sun-made raisins, which should add a little more sweetness with those wrinkled dried grapes, as well as some fun chewy texture. And speaking of chewiness, these rainbow mini mochi are a perfect addition to any bowl of cereal. They're just sweet, glutinous little nuggets that are so delicious. I'm really surprised no cereal company has used them yet. Anyway, let's move on to the next ingredient now and roll for drizzle. 5. Cherry Dr. Pepper. This will be kind of interesting. This is a Cherry Dr. Pepper dessert topper that you can drizzle on ice cream. If you're a fan of that flavor, I highly recommend it. There's not fizziness or carbonation to it, but it has a nice Cherry Dr. Pepper flavor. Finally, we're on to our last ingredient now as we roll for milk. 3. Blue milk. Been a while since we rolled this one. As always, I head out to the moisture farm on Tatooine to milk the banthas myself to obtain this sweet and fruity blue milk, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 14. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So we all know Will Smith from his acting career, and it's easy to clown some of his simplistic and comedic rap songs, but him and Jeff made some great albums back in the day. Their second album, He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper, was one of the first cassettes I bought as a kid, and it's still a classic. Still one of the best duos to ever do it. Alright, time to hit this bowl with some blue milk, and now, moment of truth, will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? I'm pleasantly surprised by this bowl. The flavors and textures work really well together. The raisins and mini mochi add another chewy element mint to pair with the cereal marshmallows, and that cherry Dr. Pepper syrup actually fits pretty nicely next to that berry flavored cereal. Not quite perfect, but almost there. I'll give it 4.5 stars, and let's call this one Spooky Soda Swirl. I'm not sure there's anything we could have done differently to get that extra half star. The cereal itself is what's holding it back. I like the Monster cereals, but I still wish General Mills went back to the oat recipe from my youth. The corn pieces are okay, but these cereals used to be so much better. Check your stores to see if they still have some Monster cereals left and stock up to last you until next season. Alright, I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today's National Sangria Day. This fruity muddled wine has been consumed in Europe for centuries, but it became popular here in the US in 1964 when the Spanish pavilion at the World's Fair introduced it to Americans. Alright, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 9. Natasha Bowl. This is just a ceramic bowl with a funny face that I got off Etsy. The pottery company that makes it named it Natasha, so that's what I call her too. Alright, on to the star of the show now. Time to roll for cereal. 1. Grape Nuts. Not my favorite cereal. Grape Nuts was first developed by C.W. Post way back in 1897. There are two versions of where these crunchy wheat nuggets got their name. One is C.W. Post thought glucose or grape sugar was created when the product was baked. The other version is that they resemble grape seeds or grape nuts. I don't really care which version is true. The cereal is underwhelming. Alright, let's break out the 2D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 1. Cheetos and 3. Potato chips. Guess the dice gods are mad at me this time. I don't see how these crunchy cheese puffs with their bright orange cheese dust will pair with any cereal, but they definitely don't enhance the grape nuts at all. And then I have a small bag of Lay's original potato chips. This just adds a saltiness and a little crunch to the cereal, but since the grape nuts aren't really sweet, this is just a savory, crunchy bowl so far. Please let's not roll hot sauce now as we roll for drizzle. 5. Creme de menthe. Well, not sure that's any better. This mint flavored syrup is good in drinks or even as an ice cream topper, but it's not very thick like regular syrup or liquidy. I don't think it's going to work well with the flavors in this bowl. Finally, on to our last ingredient now as we roll for milk. 7. Almond milk. I'm just happy we didn't roll bone broth. I have some unsweetened original almond milk, one of my favorite milk alternatives. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll save this bowl, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 20. The legendary Roots Crew, one of my favorite groups of all time. Back in the day, I used to watch the Roots perform live at the Electric Factory in Philly, near where I grew up. Black Thought is one of the best rappers of all time, and Questlove is a great drummer, but more importantly, he's a big cereal head who hosts cereal game night parties in LA that I've never been invited to. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some almond milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? I think you already know the answer to that question. This is not good at all. Grape nuts by itself is never a great choice for me, but if there's some fresh fruit and enough milk, it's tolerable. However, when you add some bright orange cheesy puffs, salty potato chips, and a bright green mint syrup as your toppings, well, it's almost inedible. I'm gonna give this bowl half a star, and let's call it Things Fall Apart. This bowl was close to 0 stars, but it's not completely inedible like some previous 0-star bowls we've gotten. I tried my best and attempted to just get grape nuts by themselves, but at the end of the day, there were still a few spoonfuls left in this bowl. I hate wasting food, but I also don't like feeling sick for the rest of the day. I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today's National Fruitcake Day. I don't know why fruitcakes get such a bad rap. Anyway, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 10. Gay Bowl. I always have to articulate this bowl because people mishear it as Gay Bowl. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those. This bowl just has my name on it. Let's move on to the star of the show now and roll for cereal. 6. Twinkles. I recently made a new cereal time video about this one over on my YouTube channel. Twinkles was first released by General Mills way back in 1960, and they came with storybooks on the boxes featuring the mascot, Twinkles the elephant. The cereal had been discontinued for decades, but General Mills recently decided to revive the brand and release a new version of this classic star-shaped cereal. The recipe is different now, made with cheaper corn ingredients, and this version tastes kind of like a vanilla cupcake. Alright, let's grab 2D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 13. Toasted marshmallows and 15. Mini mochi. I love both of these toppings. First, let's grab some mini jet puff marshmallows and break out the torch and roast these bad boys to a nice brown and toasty color. We'll get these marshmallows into the bowl, and then we have these rainbow colored mini mochi. These sweet little glutinous rice nuggets are such a great cereal topper. I wish a major cereal company would find a way to incorporate them into a new cereal one day. Alright, moving on to the next ingredient now. Time to roll for drizzle. 11. Maple syrup. This is a simple and easy drizzle. I have some dark maple syrup from Trader Joe's, and this will add some more sweetness and that maple flavor to this vanilla flavored cereal. We're doing well so far, let's not blow it as we roll for milk. 4. Chocolate milk. Been a while since we rolled chocolate milk. It's not the best with fruity cereals, but with something like Twinkles, I think it'll be a great fit. Before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 11. The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. This cartoon premiered back in 1986. It was based off the animatronic toy bear that was a huge hit back in 1985 when it came out. I had a Teddy Ruxpin doll. I used to put my regular music cassette tapes in his back instead of the storybook ones that came with it. The cartoon just follows Teddy Ruxpin and his friends on adventures similar to the ones you'd hear on the tapes for the doll. The show ran for 2 seasons with 65 episodes. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some chocolate milk. And now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Yep, this one is a keeper for sure. So as I mentioned, the cereal has a slight vanilla hint to it, not really a birthday cake flavor, it's mostly just sweetness, but it's a good crunchy base for the toasted marshmallows and chewy little mochi nuggets. That maple flavor actually blends really well with the chocolate milk and everything just works. I'm giving this one 5 stars, and let's call this one Twinkle Twinkle Baby.
Come on, twinkle twinkle baby, twinkle twinkle.
I know I sound like a broken record every time I bring this up, but if you've never tried mini mochi in place of cereal marshmallows, you gotta give it a go. They have a great chewy texture and they're superior to cereal marshmallows. Anyway, hope you had a great 2024. I'll see you in the new year. Hopefully this app doesn't disappear. Until I see you next Friday, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is J.R.R. Tolkien Day because it's also his birthday. Still haven't seen that new animated Lord of the Rings movie that came out recently, but I'm excited to check it out. Alright, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 10. Silly Billy Bowl. This is a bowl with a funny face and a pair of feet to hold it up. People say Silly Billy reminds them of Cuphead, and I can see the resemblance. Moving on now to the star of the show, back to the 20-item list as we roll for cereal. 2. Havre Frost. So this is an international cereal that I didn't know about until someone in the comments mentioned it months ago. It's produced in Denmark, but apparently it's available all throughout the Nordic countries there in Europe. They're little oat nuggets. They kind of look like mini versions of Crave, but the oat flour makes them crunchier and they have this light, airy crispness to them. Not super sweet or flavorful, but a good oat base for other ingredients. Now let's grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 12. Popping Boba, and 18. Blueberries. This is a good pairing because the Popping Boba that I have are blueberry flavored. Just little pearls with sweet blueberry juice inside that pop open when you bite into them. And then we have some real blueberries to go along with those. It'll be a good mix of sweet popping blueberries and the fresh ones that have a more tart and tangy flavor to them. Moving on now, let's see if we can add some blueberry syrup on our roll for drizzle. 6. Raspberry. Okay, well at least we're still in the berry family, and yes, before someone in the comments corrects me, I know that raspberries aren't technically considered berries, but that raspberry flavor will still work well with the blueberries. Alright, on to our last ingredient now, time to roll for milk. 2. Strawberry milk. Berries on berries on berries today. And yes, strawberries aren't technically berries either, so you can stop typing that comment and just enjoy the general berry flavor we got here. But before we pour this milk, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 8. The Beatnuts. This is a rap duo from Queens consisting of Psycho Les and Juju. The Beatnuts originally were just doing dope production on other artists' albums, but eventually got on the mic too and released an EP in 93 and a full-length album in 94. Their biggest hit came in 97 with Off the Books featuring Big Pun. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some strawberry milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? It's hard to go wrong with all these berry flavors today. The blueberry flavor is the strongest here, but then you also get a hint of that raspberry syrup, and the strawberry milk helps balance it all out. There isn't much flavor from the Havre Frost cereal, but it adds a nice crunchy oat texture that works well with everything else. I'm gonna give this one 4 stars, and let's call it Nordic Berry Blast. What's the difference between Nordic countries and Scandinavian countries? Is one just a subset of the other? I think Nordic countries include Finland and Iceland, right? My European geography isn't great, but I'm happy I was able to find this and try this classic Danish cereal, though I do think this might have been a 5-star bowl with maybe Cheerios instead. Alright, I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is Houseplant Appreciation Day. I'm more of a succulents kind of guy. Those are easier to care for, but if you have some houseplants, show them some love today. Alright, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 5. Darth Vader Bowl. So this Vader bowl isn't technically a cereal bowl, it's a bowl for giving out Halloween candy for trick-or-treaters, but if it's concave, then I can eat cereal out of it. Let's move on to the star of the show now and see what we get today. 6 Squishmallows. So someone who is a Squishmallow collector will have to explain the history and lore of these little plush dolls to me. I know they became really popular around the start of the pandemic in 2020, and they're soft and cute, but I guess they're popular enough for Kellogg's to release this Squishmallow cereal last year. It's just little corn loops and marshmallows, and it has sweet marshmallow-like flavor. Alright, time to grab 2 D20s now and roll for wild cards. 8 Space Ice Cream and 13 Granola. So I don't have the original old-fashioned space ice cream I used to get as a kid, but this Cosmic company makes freeze-dried ice cream and it's just as good. I have this vanilla flavor here which will break up into smaller chunks and sprinkle over the cereal. Then for granola I have this vanilla almond crisp flavor from Bare Naked. So with the vanilla ice cream and the vanilla granola, we have a good flavor balance here with that marshmallow cereal. Moving on now to the next ingredient, let's roll for drizzle. 9 Banana. Been a while since we rolled this flavor. I'm a fan of sliced bananas on most cereals, and this drizzle is the next best thing, so it should work well with the vanilla flavor. And now on to our final ingredient, time to roll for milk. 4 Chocolate Milk. I think this will pair nicely with the vanilla and banana flavors in this bowl. Nothing clashes here, no gross ingredients, but before we pour this milk, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 19 Rude Dog and the Dweebs. This was a weird one. This cartoon premiered on Saturday mornings back in 1989, and it was based on the Rude Dog character who was a clothing mascot. The show took place in Beverly Hills, where Rude Dog runs a delivery service with 7 other dogs called the Dweebs. Each episode they try to deliver packages and get into trouble. It only ran for 13 episodes because no one watched this cartoon. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some chocolate milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Yep, as I suspected, all these flavors play really well together. The Squishmallow cereal has that overly sweet marshmallow flavor, and the vanilla granola adds some nice crunchy texture. The banana drizzle is a great flavor to pair with that chocolate milk, and that freeze-dried vanilla ice cream slowly dissolves into the milk, making it creamier. I'm gonna give this bowl 4 stars, and let's call it Choco Banella Bomb. The only reason I'm holding back that last star is because this Squishmallow cereal is a bit underwhelming. I'm gonna keep saying it until the cereal companies listen, but Squishmallow cereal would have been the perfect cereal to use the squishy, chewy mini mochi instead of cereal marshmallows. Must be a reason they don't do that. Maybe the mochi are too expensive or sink to the bottom of the box or something. Anyway, I guess we should know the fate of this app soon. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed. Maybe not this middle finger though. Until next time, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. So this might be the last Roll for Cereal ever posted on TikTok thanks to the incompetent, ignorant, and evil Biden administration. I'm doing a live tomorrow on Saturday, which hopefully isn't our last day on this app, but it doesn't look promising. Let's get started with Roll for Bowl. 9 Glass Bowl, one of the better bowl options. I like this simple glass bowl. It's a good size and you can see the milk to cereal ratio. Moving on to the star of the show now, time to roll for cereal. 10 Friends. Yes, the classic 90s sitcom finally gets its own cereal a mere 30 years after the show first premiered. The sitcom has remained popular and rediscovered by younger generations, so I guess General Mills thought now would be a good time to license the brand for a cereal. The full name of this one is Friends Vanilla Bean Latte because we know the crew love to hang out at Central Perk Coffee Shop, so these sweetened flakes have a coffee flavor to them. Not the first coffee cereal release, but hopefully it'll be the last. Okay, now let's grab 2 D20s and roll for wild card toppings. 7 Kettle Corn and 18 Blackberries. For Kettle Corn, I use the Boom Chicka Pop brand. This sweet and salty popcorn is fun to snack on, but doesn't always work well as a cereal topping. Maybe you would pair it with something like Corn Pops, I don't know. Moving on to the blackberries now, I got a full container here. I love blackberries, or any kind of berries to throw on my cereal, but I'm not sure coffee and blackberries really work together. Moving on now to the next ingredient, time to roll for drizzle. 9 Marshmallow, one of my favorite drizzles. This marshmallow sauce goes great on ice cream and it's a good sweet addition to most cereals. It does take some time to drizzle all this sauce over the bowl, so we have to speed things up a bit. Now we're moving on to the last ingredient, time to roll for milk. 3 Green Milk. Similar to the blue milk, I just have to head out to Octu to milk the Thalasirens for this sweet milk, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 11, The Mask. This is a perfect cartoon pairing for that green milk today, but it's also perfect because it's Jim Carrey's birthday. This animated series premiered in 1995. It was based on the 1994 movie, which was in turn based on the 1980s comic book from Dark Horse. This was at the height of Jim Carrey's popularity, and they seemed to make all of his movies into kids' cartoons. This one actually ran for 3 seasons with about 50 episodes. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some green milk, and now a moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So if you've watched previous videos here, you'll know that I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't really like the taste of coffee, so this Friends cereal is a hard pass for me. I was hoping the sweet and salty popcorn and blackberries and that marshmallow sauce would overpower the coffee flavored flakes, but unfortunately they do not. It's not terrible, the sweetness from the berries and marshmallow add a little flavor variety here, but overall it's tough to get past the cereal for me. I'm gonna give this one 2.5 stars, and let's call it we were on a break fast. You can find all my links at cerealtime.tv. I still have my YouTube channel where I've made cereal videos for over a decade. I've joined Red Note, you can find me there, but not sure that app will last either. Ultimately, if this is the end, I just want to say thank you to all the cereal heads out there. Life can be like the milk that constantly threatens our structural integrity, slowly trying to make us soggy, but you gotta fight back against it and do whatever you can to stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today's National Compliment Day, so compliment a loved one, a coworker, or just a stranger. We're living in wild times right now. A nice word or gesture can go a long way. Alright, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 8. Meteor Bowl. I got this bowl from an Etsy shop a while back, and it was called the Meteor Bowl because of the texture and the way it kind of looks like a rock. It's a really pretty color and makes for a great cereal bowl. Speaking of cereal, let's move on to the star of the show now and see what we get. 17. Gingerbread Toast Crunch. This holiday variety of Cinnamon Toast Crunch was first released December of 2023, and I like to believe that I had some influence on this one. Since 2014, I've been making cereal videos on my YouTube channel, and I first pitched a Gingerbread Toast Crunch flavor about 9 years ago, constantly bugging General Mills to make a gingerbread flavored cereal, and while I'm sure they don't actually listen to my suggestions, I'm just happy they finally made this variety. It could have a little more warmth or spice to it, but it's a good holiday variety of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Alright, let's grab 2 D20s now and roll for wild cards. 13 cereal Marbits and 18 blueberries. Alright, not too bad. I still have a bag of St. Patrick's themed Lucky Charms marshmallows from last year, and they're getting right up against the expiration date, so probably time to get a new bag of these before they get stale and soft. But right now, still good. Then I have a small amount of blueberries left. I'm not sure how well berries mix with that gingerbread flavor. You don't really hear people mixing those two flavors together, so should be interesting. Moving on now to the next ingredient. Time to roll for drizzle. 4. Hazelnut. This could work. I have a cream of hazelnut syrup that you can use to make cocktails or as an ice cream drizzle. Hazelnut, obviously a great pairing for chocolate, but I think it'll go well with the holiday spice of gingerbread too. Finally, moving on to our last ingredient now. Time to roll for milk. 5. Flax milk. This is actually the first time I've rolled flax milk. My brother-in-law loves this Good Karma brand of flax milk. This one comes with added protein. I'm sure it's pretty similar to other milk alternatives, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 6. Salt and Peppa. This hip-hop trio from New York was formed in 1985, and it consists of rappers Salt and Peppa and DJ Spinderella. Their debut album, Hot, Cool, and Vicious, came out in 1986, and it was the first album by a female rap group to hit gold and platinum status. They've had a lot of popular songs over the years that I'm sure your mom and dad like singing along to. Okay, let's hit this bowl with some flax milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? It's interesting, not amazing, but pretty good. Here's what I really like. The hazelnut syrup and the gingerbread toast crunch are a perfect fit together, but I do think the blueberries are a little weird with this bowl, which is a bit disappointing because blueberries are usually a great fit with most flavors. They don't ruin this bowl, they just drag it down a little bit, so I'm gonna give this one 3.5 stars, and let's call it Blueberry Burner. There's a traditional Swiss Christmas cake that originated in Bern, Switzerland, and it's made from ground hazelnuts and similar to gingerbread, so that's where I got the burner name from. If this bowl had some ginger snaps or cinnamon instead of blueberries, it probably would have been 5 stars. Alright, well, I'm gonna keep making these videos here on TikTok until the wheels fall off. I'll see you here next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is Eat Brussels Sprouts Day. I remember hating Brussels sprouts growing up, but now as an adult, I really like them. Alright, let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 3. Giant Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bowl. So this is a Jason Kelsey Mega Bowl from Cinnamon Toast Crunch. This thing is huge and has a bunch of crazy squares there along the rim and a Jason Kelsey autograph on the side. It's a little overwhelming, but let's move on now and see what cereal we get today. 5. Apple Jacks glazed donut holes. So Kellogg's released 3 of these glazed donut hole varieties about a month ago. They have a Frosted Flakes and Crave version, which I got my hands on months before they even announced these things. You can see those boxes on the wall in previous videos if you look closely, but I only recently picked up this Apple Jacks version. It's a lazy concept or idea. They're just corn puffs with little red Apple Jack specks on them, and they have a very faint apple cinnamon flavor. I don't recommend them. Alright, moving on now, let's grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 3. Tajín, and 17. Mini mochi. Always love rolling mochi, but first the Tajín. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's a Mexican seasoning consisting of lime, chili, peppers, and salt. It goes great on some fruits like mango or pineapple. As for a cereal topping, it's hit or miss. Unlike mini mochi here, which are always great, these sweet glutinous rice nuggets are better than cereal marbits in my opinion. People ask where they can find them. I check local Asian grocery stores. They sell them on Amazon, but I try to avoid supporting Bezos whenever I can. Moving on now to the next ingredient, let's roll for drizzle. 11. Strawberry. The strawberry puree syrup is a delicious topping to all kinds of things like waffles, pancakes, ice cream. Usually good on cereals too. Not sure about this combo though. Finally, on to our last ingredient as we roll for milk. 2. Strawberry milk. Just in case that strawberry syrup wasn't enough, now we get an extra dose of that strawberry flavor. But before we pour this milk, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 21. Dino Riders. There were lots of dinosaur-themed cartoons in the 80s and 90s, but I don't actually remember this one too well. It was a Saturday morning cartoon that premiered in 1988. It's about 2 groups who were transported back to the age of dinosaurs, and one of those groups befriends the dinosaurs to battle the other group. It only aired for 14 episodes. Alright, let's hit this giant bowl with some strawberry milk, and now a moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So as I mentioned, I don't love this glazed donut Apple Jack cereal. It's just a very bland flavor and the corn puffs are underwhelming. The Tajín adds a nice little spicy tang, and the strawberry milk and syrup take over as the dominant flavor. The mini mochi are great as always, but overall just a big mishmash of flavors and kinda all over the place. I'm gonna give this one 3 stars, and let's call it glazed and confused. I don't like yucking other people's yums, so I don't want to be too hard on these glazed donut holes from Kellogg's if people out there really like them, but I'm not a fan, and it's disappointing whenever I see Kellogg's release some new low-effort lazy cash grab instead of bringing back the classic Rice Krispie Treat cereal that we all loved and want to see back on shelves. These companies don't care about us though. Alright, I'll be back here next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National Bubblegum Day. What's your favorite brand of bubblegum? Bubble Yum, Bubblicious? I think my favorite's still grape flavored Big League Chew. Alright, enough talk about gum, let's get started with Roll for Bowl. 12. Spilt Milk Bowl. My favorite cereal bowl. This squishy silicone bowl can be bought at genuinefred.com or on Amazon or the TikTok shop. Moving on to the star of the show now, let's roll for cereal. 4. Chocolate Chex. So Chex cereal was originally known as Shredded Ralston when it first came out back in 1936. It was renamed Chex in 1950, and eventually the brand was sold to General Mills in the late 90s. It comes in all types of grains and flavors. This Chocolate Chex actually has plain rice Chex and chocolate flavored rice Chex pieces. Not sure why it's just not entirely the chocolate pieces, but I'm a big fan of the Chex cereals. Let's grab 2 D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 13 granola and 13 granola. Double dose of granola today. I have this vanilla almond crisp flavor of granola from Bare Naked. It should be a good pair for the chocolate Chex cereal. I'll just do 2 pours of this granola and then we'll move on to the next ingredient. Time to roll for drizzle. 5. Root beer. I was kind of hoping for chocolate drizzle on this one, but this flavor is actually sneaky good. It's a good topping for ice cream and making a root beer float. It turns your milk into a nice root beer flavor. Speaking of milk, time for the last ingredient now as we roll for milk. 7. Almond milk. I think this still is the most rolled milk in this series. I'd have to check the spreadsheet, but before we pour this one, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 19. Police Academy. This cartoon premiered in 1988. It was a spin-off from the Police Academy movies. It follows the adventures of a bunch of misfit police recruits. Lots of lowbrow humor, just like the films. There were 2 seasons, 65 episodes of this show, but I'd say only about 40% of the episodes were good. If you don't believe me, you can go ahead and Google 40% of police and see what you find. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some almond milk, and now a moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Thankfully, there are no bad ingredients in this bowl today, pretty simple and straightforward. That chocolatey Chex cereal blends with the vanilla almond granola and the almond milk, and then that root beer syrup just comes in and punches you in the mouth with a strong root beer flavor. It's a nice crunchy texture, and flavor-wise, it tastes like a chocolate root beer float. I'm gonna give this one 4.5 stars, and let's call it Cocoa Sarsaparilla. The root beer flavor outweighs the chocolate flavor, but I'm okay with that because I've been pitching a root beer flavored cereal for a while now. It could be something simple too, like root beer flavored corn puffs and plain cereal marshmallows. You could co-brand with A&W, Barks, or Mug, or any root beer brand. Keep your eyes peeled for upcoming lives. I'm trying to figure out how to do a cereal trivia where people can participate and win stuff. New roll for cereal next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is Valentine's Day, one of the more annoying Hallmark holidays. If you do celebrate it, think about doing something thoughtful for your loved one instead of buying a box of chocolates or roses. All right, let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 11. Our Name is Mud. So this complimentary cereal bowl comes from a pottery company from New York called Our Name is Mud. That's a phrase that was popularized well before the Primus song came along. All right, let's move on to the star of the show now and roll for cereal. 20. Player's Choice. This is a tough one. There's some great options, but I'm going to go with Bluey cereal today since we haven't rolled that one yet. So if you've been living under a rock and have no idea what Bluey is, it's an Australian animated show about a blue heeler puppy named Bluey who lives with her parents and younger sister Bingo. The show is really adorable and fun, and of course General Mills thought it made sense to capitalize on the success by making this new Bluey cereal. It's just sweetened corn puffs with little blue dusting to them. They're kind of like a sweeter version of Kix cereal. All right, moving on now, let's grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 14. Mini Mochi, and 10. Prize Inside. For those new here, Prize Inside is a box filled with cards, or prizes if you will. Those cards feature different characters that you might recognize as references to classic cereal mascots. Each character gives us a task or unique ability. Just like prizes in cereal boxes, some are good and some are bad. We'll draw one card and follow the instructions on it. The Frog, Let's Get Wild. This one says we have to use all odd or even wild cards on the list today. That's going to be a lot of toppings. Not sure how I feel about that. Glad I have a big enough bowl, but for now let's get the rest of these Prize Inside cards back into the box to be drawn another day, and then we have to get back to the rest of our wild card toppings. So because the other dice was a 14, that means we'll use all the even number toppings today. We got pita chips, tahini, candy corn, Pop Rocks, walnuts, mini mochi, sliced almonds, dried cherries, and Player's Choice. For that one, I'll just pick something small and easy like sprinkles. Alright, let's run the gauntlet. First we have some pita chips. Thankfully I'm getting down to the bottom of this bag. These chips are kind of salty and we'll add some crunch. Next we have some tahini, which is a classic Mexican seasoning of chili peppers, lime, and salt. We'll sprinkle a little of that onto our cereal. Then we got the divisive candy corn. This bag is still left over from Halloween, but thankfully they aren't hard or stale yet. And then I got some blue raspberry Pop Rocks to go with the Bluey cereal. We usually add these at the end right before the milk. Next we have our first nut, some chopped walnuts, which should add some nice crunch to this bowl. And of course we can't forget my favorite cereal topping, the mini mochi. These sweet glutinous rice nuggets are a great addition to any bowl. Next we have another nut, this time it's sliced almonds, just a little small sprinkling of those. And then we add some dried cherries. These cherries are from Trader Joe's and they're addicting with a perfect sweet and tart pairing. And lastly, for Player's Choice, I'll just add a little dash of sprinkles for some extra rainbow color to this wild bowl. And in case that wasn't enough, we still have to roll for drizzle. 5. Cherry Dr. Pepper. This is a very strong and dominant flavor. It's a great syrup to drizzle over vanilla ice cream, but with cereal it can be a bit overpowering. We already have enough different flavors in this bowl, so why not? Finally, on to our last ingredient now, time to roll for milk. 6. Oat milk. I got this original Planet oat milk. It's nice and creamy and a good milk alternative, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 18. KMD. This was a New York hip-hop group from the 80s featuring Zev Love X, who you probably know by his modern alias MF Doom. There's too much lore about their sophomore album for me to get into here, but you should definitely go down that rabbit hole if you have time. Okay, let's hit this huge bowl of toppings with some oat milk. You can hear those Pop Rocks popping. And now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? I guess the best compliment I can give to this overwhelming bowl is that it's not inedible. Unfortunately, there's just too many things going on in this bowl. The Bluey cereal is just a plain corn puff base that you can't really even taste. There's crunch and sweetness, but that cherry Dr. Pepper syrup is still the most dominant flavor. Each bite brings you something new and different, so I guess that's interesting. I'll give this bowl 3 stars, and let's call it Where the Wild Things Are. Like I said, there are way worse combos that we could have gotten. All these ingredients are usually pretty good if paired with the right stuff. If I had to make some cuts here, I would lose the candy corn and cherry Dr. Pepper syrup, but it's always hit or miss miss with these prize and side cards. The frog tried to throw us a curveball today, but we managed to avoid disaster. And now we never have to deal with him again. Alright, I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National Sticky Bun Day. I think sticky buns have nuts as a topping, whereas Cinnabons have that cream cheese frosting. Either way, I love both of them. Alright, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 2. Ziploc bag. Well, I dreaded the day we rolled this one. There's really never any need to eat cereal out of a Ziploc bag unless it's the only thing you have available in the house. I hope some of you freaks are happy about this. Moving on to the star of the show now, time to roll for cereal. 7. Add another cereal. Been a while since we got a 2 cereal combo. Always fun to mix and match. Let's see what we get today. 13. Loaded chocolate strawberry, and 18. Strawberry cinnamon toast crunch, a double dose of strawberry. First, let's get started with the loaded cereal. This is General Mills' attempt to copy Crave cereal. As someone who hates Crave, I don't know why you do that instead of bringing back the amazing Hidden Treasure cereal from the 90s. But this flavor of loaded features strawberry shells filled with chocolate cream inside. Good flavor combo, just not a great execution of this cereal. Next, we have the brand new strawberry cinnamon toast crunch. This one is great. I thought it would just be strawberry flavored squares, but they actually kept the cinnamon flavor as well, so you have a good mix of strawberry and cinnamon dusting. If only they brought back peanut butter toast crunch and we could combine these two to make a peanut butter and jelly toast crunch. Alright, let's grab 2D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 7. Sour Patch Kids and 20 Player's Choice. Anytime you give me a choice, I'm always going to pick Mini Mochi. That's my favorite cereal topping. First though, we have to add the Sour Patch Kids. This sweet and sour candy is one of my favorites, but it's just not a good cereal topping. Now on to the Mini Mochi. These sweet glutinous little rice nuggets add the perfect chewy texture to your bowl of cereal. I wish cereal companies would use these instead of Marbits, but I suspect there's some food science reason they don't. Alright, moving on to the next ingredient now. Let's roll for drizzle. 10. Chocolate. Always love good chocolate drizzle, especially on a strawberry and chocolate cereal like we have with this loaded one here. Chocolate and strawberry are a great flavor combination. Alright, moving on to our last ingredient now. Time to roll for milk. 5. Macadamia milk. It's been a while since we've rolled this one. The brand is called Milkadamia, and it's got a nice creamy texture, but not quite as good as almond milk for me. Before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 1. Get Along Gang. This one was a bit before my time. The Get Along Gang was a group of animal characters created for greeting cards back in 1983. The cartoon premiered the following year on Nickelodeon, but quickly moved to CBS. The show focused on the 6 core members of the gang, and they only made about 13 episodes before it was canceled. Alright, let's hit this plastic bag with some macadamia milk, and then we'll get it zipped up and secure so the ingredients mix together and don't spill out. And now, a moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So there are some really good elements to this combo. The loaded chocolate strawberry cereal mixed with the strawberry cinnamon toast crunch, the mini mochi, and the chocolate syrup. That's a perfect combo. All those flavors and textures work together. But then the Sour Patch Kids come in and ruin the party with their citric acid. Without that added candy, I think this would be a near perfect bowl, except for the fact it's not a bowl, it's a stupid Ziploc bag. I'm only giving this one 3.5 stars, and let's call it the mixed bag, because that's actually what it is. Even if we ditch the Sour Patch Kids, this still wouldn't be a 5-star bowl because I have to eat it out of this ridiculous thing, which just makes it hard to consume and not fun to navigate. I can't even drink up the remaining milk without risk of spilling the contents all over myself. We only have one episode left in this season before Roll for Cereal goes on a hiatus. I'll see you here next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National Public Sleeping Day. Yep, that's a thing. So if you're in public watching this right now, go ahead and take a nap. But not yet. This is the last Roll for Cereal before a brief hiatus. Let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 11. Honey Bowl. I love this bowl. It has such intricate and whimsical details. I got it from a shop on Etsy called Lake Lismore Pottery, one of my favorite bowls to eat cereal out of. Moving on to the star of the show now, let's roll for cereal. Another 11. Add another cereal. Second episode in a row with the 2 cereal combo. Let's grab another dice and see what 2 cereals we get today. 5. Honey Bunches of Oats Chocolate, and 10 Friends. So original Honey Bunches of Oats hit shelves back in 1989. It was created by a Post employee with the help of his daughter by combining a few of Post's other cereals. They've had tons of varieties over the years, but this chocolate version is new, and as you can see on the box, it says it's made with real chocolate and cocoa. I'm not a huge chocolate cereal fan, but even I gotta admit this one is pretty good. Now for the Friends cereal, we first rolled this back in episode 145. General Mills released this one at the end of last year as a tie-in to a sitcom that's over 30 years old. These are vanilla bean latte latte flavored flakes. They have a strong coffee taste, which I don't love, but at least today we get to mix them with the chocolate honey bunches of oats, which should make for a nice mocha or even a tiramisu flavored combo. Now let's grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 13 cereal Marbits and 12 pecans or pecans. Not bad toppings, so I have a bag of cereal marshmallows from last St. Patrick's Day, and these things are getting kind of stale at this point, but looking forward to picking up another couple packs for this upcoming St. Patrick's Day. And for the pecans, these nuts should be a good addition. It'll add some crunch, and there are versions of Honey Bunches of Oats that have nuts, so these will be right at home in this bowl here. Moving on to our next ingredient now, time to roll for drizzle. 4 hazelnut. This cream of hazelnut syrup is good for making drinks. It's also a good drizzle on ice cream. The hazelnut flavor should be a great fit next to the coffee and chocolate flavor of these cereals. Pretty good pairing so far. Let's hope we don't ruin it now as we roll for milk. Oops, that didn't count as the roll. Let me toss it into the bowl. 7 almond milk. One of my favorite milk alternatives. We already have pecans and hazelnut, so another nut shouldn't be a problem. But before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 7 Eek the Cat. I have vague memories of this cartoon. It premiered back in 1992 on Fox Kids, which was their Saturday morning cartoon block. The show's about a cat named Eek who tries to help or save people and constantly gets injured in the process. Lots of physical and visual humor in this show. It also featured a lot of guest stars. I remember Gillian Anderson, Tim Curry, Mr. T, William Shatner, many other celebs and cameos. The show ran for 5 seasons with about 75 episodes. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some almond milk, and now moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? I have to admit that I'm pleasantly surprised by this one. I really don't care for this Friends cereal because I don't like coffee, but the chocolate cereal and hazelnut syrup help balance out that latte flavor and make it not just tolerable, but actually pretty good. The pecans add a nice crunch, and the cereal Marbits, well, I prefer if they weren't stale, but overall this is a pretty satisfying bowl. I'll give it 4.5 stars, and let's call it the one before the hiatus. This is the last episode of what we're calling Season 4 of Roll for Cereal. I think the hiatus will last all of March, but I'll try to continue posting other videos and doing lives with some cereal trivia when I can. Also, if you want to get updates whenever there are new Roll for Cereal videos, you can add your email to the free Roll for Cereal Substack. The link's in the bio. Next time you see Roll for Cereal, things might look a little different, but change is good. I'll see you back here for Season 5. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to the return of Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Thanks for your patience with the hiatus last month as I took some time to move, but we're back once again to rolling for cereal every Friday. Let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 8 Cereal Time Bowl. This is an eggplant colored ceramic bowl featuring the Cereal Time logo on it. I got this custom made on Etsy a while back. It's a great cereal bowl. Moving on to the star of the show now, time to roll for cereal. 16 Arctic Crunch. So as you can see now, my epic cereal box wall survived the move to a new house, and for this Arctic Crunch, it's not really seasonally appropriate because it's not winter anymore, but Horatio dropped this variety of Captain Crunch during the holidays, and it doesn't expire until the summer, so we have some time to enjoy this cereal. It's just like a vanilla flavored version of Crunch Berries. It's nowhere near the top of Captain Crunch varieties, but it works as a good base. Now let's grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 9 sprinkles and 15 walnuts. Fairly simple and inoffensive toppings today for our return. First, we have some Betty Crocker rainbow sprinkles, which should add a nice pop of color to this bowl of cereal. And then I have these chopped walnut pieces, which are one of the better nuts you can add to cereal. They give it a nice crunchy texture and provide you with some of those omega-3 fatty acids. I said fatty acids. Get your mind out of the gutter. Moving on to our next ingredient now, time to roll for drizzle. 12 honey, one of the better drizzles. I feel like most people enjoy a good honey drizzle, except for my wife. She hates honey, but I think she's a weird outlier with that one. All right, we're on to our final ingredient now, time to roll for milk. 7 almond milk, the most rolled milk on this series, and now I have this Costco brand almond milk because now I live closer to a Costco. But before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 13 Heathcliff. This animated series premiered back in 1984, and it was based on a comic strip about the other orange cat who appeared like 5 years before Garfield. This animated show featured 2 segments, one about Heathcliff and the other about the Cadillac Cats, who were Riff Raff, Hector, Wordsworth, and Mungo. I always preferred Riff Raff and his crew over Heathcliff. The show ran for 2 seasons with over 80 episodes. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some almond milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So yeah, nothing here really ruins the bowl. These are all solid ingredients. It's essentially a crunchy vanilla flavored corn puff cereal with a little extra crunch from the walnuts and some added sweetness from the sprinkles and the honey. Kind of resembles a nutty birthday cake. Pretty good for our first bowl back. I'm gonna give this one 4 stars and let's call it Polar Party. I'm always looking for ingredient suggestions, so if you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you head over to rollforcereal.substack.com, you can add your email to make sure you're notified when new episodes drop. It's also a good backup for Roll for Cereal in case this app does go away in the future. As you can see, the background has changed a bit. I'm still working on the setup, so expect a few tweaks over the coming weeks, but overall, we're back, baby, and I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National 8-Track Tape Day. Most of you are too young to know about 8-track tapes. My sister and I used to listen to the Grease soundtrack over and over on her 8-track player when I was a kid. Alright, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 5. Halloween Pail. It's not that time of year, but it's always fun to eat cereal out of these McDonald's Halloween pails. This orange pumpkin one has 3 scary faces on it. We'll go with this one here. Alright, moving on to the star of the show now. Time to roll for cereal. 12. Oreo Puffs. So Post recently changed Oreo O's to Oreo Puffs, so now instead of the classic rings, it's just a corn puff cereal with marshmallows. I mistakenly thought I had a box of these new Oreo Puffs, but turns out I still have a box of the old Oreo O's, so we're going to use that superior version instead today. This box is from when that cereal was first released back in 1998. The bag inside is from late last year though, so don't worry, still fresh. We don't eat discontinued cereals here on Roll for Cereal. Alright, let's grab 2D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 6 Dunkaroos and 12 granola. So Dunkaroos are little cookies with frosting. They were first launched by Betty Crocker back in 1990. They discontinued them here in the US in 2012 and then brought them back in 2020. And now recently they released the cinnamon graham flavored cookies with rainbow sprinkle frosting. I'm gonna dunk them and then add the frosted coated cookies to this bowl. Now for the granola, I actually have a chocolate chunk variety of this extra granola from Kellogg's. Look at those big nugs. This pair of crunchy oat clusters and chocolate chunks will go really well with the chocolatey Oreo cereal. Moving on to the next ingredient now, time to roll for drizzle. 5 hazelnut. This is shaping up to be a good combo. Cream of hazelnut syrup is a great addition to a chocolate cocktail, chocolate ice cream, or just really anything with chocolate. These two flavors are delicious together. We're on to our final ingredient now. Let's avoid a one roll as we roll for milk. 4 chocolate milk. A bunch of lucky rolls today. Don't think I could have asked for a better milk roll for this combo, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 20 Onyx. So this bald-headed rap group from New York consisted of Fredro Starr, Sun C, Big DS, and of course Sticky Fingers. They're probably best known for their single Slam off their 1993 debut album. Fredro and Sticky have gone on to have somewhat successful acting careers. I'm a big fan of their first 2 albums. I think Sticky and Fredro are both underrated MCs. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some chocolate milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So this is a pretty awesome combination. I'm not a huge chocolate cereal fan, but when the flavors work, they really work. The chocolate Oreos mixed with that chocolate granola, chocolate milk, and hazelnut syrup are a perfect pairing, and then the little surprises of sweet vanilla frosted cookies take this one over the edge. I'm giving this one 5 stars, and let's call it Gianduja Jamboree. Gianduja is an Italian mixture of chocolate and hazelnut paste. It's essentially what Nutella is inspired from. I'd probably make this one again, or really any chocolate cereal with that hazelnut drizzle. Alright, hopefully this app does not go away, but you can always sign up to get Roll for Cereal videos in your inbox every Friday via my Substack link in bio. I'll see you next week. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today's National Exercise Day, so go out there and get those reps in. Shout out to my favorite Peloton instructors, Rad Lopez and Jess Sims. We'll definitely need to burn some calories after this snack, but let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 7. MF Doom Bowl. This bowl honoring the late great rapper came with a special spoon and action figure, which you can see back in episode 138 when I first rolled it. So let's add some cereal today as we move on to the star and see what we get. 11. Add another cereal. Always a fun day when we get to combine 2 cereals, so let's grab 2 dice now and see what combo we get. 2 Pizza Cinnamon Toast Crunch and 18 regular Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Well, the dice gods are CTC fans, I guess. They released this limited edition Totino's pizza flavored Cinnamon Toast Crunch earlier this year and only made 1,000 boxes of it. I didn't win one, but a good friend of mine did, and he sent me the box. Honestly, it's about what you'd expect. Kind of tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch with some Italian pizza seasoning mixed in. A little savory and sweet, not something you need to try more than once. Thankfully, we get to cut the salty, savory flavor of this Pizza Cinnamon Toast Crunch with extra helping of regular Cinnamon Toast Crunch, first released by General Mills way back in 1984. Maybe the sweetness of this will drown out the pizza flavor. I love regular Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Let's get these mixed up so no idea which pieces are which now. And now we gotta grab 2D20s and roll for wild card toppings. 1 beef jerky and 13 raisins. Well, I guess the dice gods wanted a meat lover's pizza today. I have this grass-fed beef chopstick here that I will use scissors to cut up the little pieces and add them to the bowl. The raisins are a great topping for Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I think they should make a Cinnamon Toast Crunch version with raisins in it. It's such a classic and delicious flavor combo. Alright, moving on now to the next ingredient. It's time to roll for drizzle. 9 prickly pear. First time we've rolled this drizzle. Prickly pear cacti have these little fruit that grow on the paddles, and it's hard to describe, kind of like an underripe strawberry mixed with the watermelon. Tart and sweet. Finally moving on to our last ingredient now, time to roll for milk. 3 strawberry milk. Ending this bowl off with 2 fruit-inspired rolls. I'm not sure that the sweetness from either of them will compensate for the other flavors, but before we pour the milk, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 21 Starcom, the US Space Force. This cartoon premiered back in 1987. It was based on the action figure toy line about a bunch of astronauts who fought off invasions from the Shadow Force. I think NASA consulted on the show to help spark interest in the space program, but it was a huge flop here in the US. The show only ran for 13 episodes before being canceled. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some strawberry milk, and now moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? I would definitely not call this a great bowl. There are some elements in here that could work if we remove the bad stuff like the pizza flavored cereal and the beef jerky. It's not horrible when I get a bite without that jerky, but unfortunately those pieces are hard to avoid and the beef and pizza flavor are the most dominant ones here. The sweetness from the regular Cinnamon Toast Crunch, the raisins, prickly pear, and strawberry milk just aren't enough to overcome the bad flavors. It's not an edible, so I'll give this 1 star and let's call it the prickly jerk. If it was simply Cinnamon Toast Crunch with raisins and some prickly pear syrup, this would have been a home run. People ask why I put bad ingredients on the list, and the only answer I can give is because people like to watch me suffer, and I'm here for your entertainment. Don't forget to add your email to the Roll for Cereal Substack to get videos delivered to your inbox every week and never miss an episode. I'll see you here next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today's the birthday of Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward to ever play, the greatest spur of all time, and one of my favorite players. Happy birthday, Timmy. Let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 7 Silipint Bowl. This is a squishy silicone bowl that comes in this fun blue-green tie-dye design. Not quite as fun as my spilt milk bowl, but still good. Okay, moving on to the star of the show now. Time to roll for cereal. 14 Loaded S'mores. General Mills started releasing these loaded versions of their classic cereals early last year, like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Trix, and Cocoa Puffs. They're kind of like Crave imitations. No idea why you'd want to imitate Crave, but this newer S'mores version is very disappointing. S'mores should be graham crackers, chocolate, and marshmallow, right? This Loaded S'mores is missing 2 of those ingredients because it's just wheat nuggets filled with chocolate cream. It doesn't even capture the flavor of a good s'more. But maybe our next roll will improve it as we roll for wildcard toppings. 3 red pepper flakes and 4 pita chips. Well, so much for improving this cereal. These red pepper flakes probably would have been more welcome in the pizza Cinnamon Toast Crunch bowl from last week. And then I'll take a handful of these Stacy's thin pita chips and crumble them over the cereal. Won't really add much flavor, but maybe a little crunch and a little salt. Now let's move on to our next ingredient and roll for drizzle. 1 banana ketchup. Not great. Banana ketchup is a Filipino ketchup made from bananas. It's got sugar, vinegar, and spices. It's delicious on all things you'd put ketchup on, just not cereal. I'm sure Jake from Roll for Sandwich would not be a fan of this bowl. Last ingredient now, time to roll for milk. 2 blue milk. This stuff's hard to obtain. You have to milk banthas for this blue fruity milk. It's plentiful on Tatooine, so if you're ever in the Outer Rim territories, you should pick some up. Before we pour the blue milk, gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 30 Idea. Idea was a rapper from Minnesota who gained notoriety for his battle wins, but he was much more than that. He helped build up the Rhymesayers label. His Many Faces of Oliver Hart album is a classic, one of my favorites. He passed away back in 2010 and he seemed like he still had so much art and life to share with the world. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some blue milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Well, I bet you're shocked to find out that banana ketchup and sweet s'more cereal are not a great pairing. I mean, to be fair, this cereal in general is not very good, but if we had gotten some marshmallows or chocolate as a topping or drizzle, I thought maybe we could save it. The savory ketchup just makes this one really hard to eat. I'm only gonna give this half a star, and let's call it Walang S'more. I don't really know any Taglish, but one of my Filipino friends assured me that name would make sense. Quick reminders, you can check out Roll for Cereal music playlist, the spreadsheet, and the Substack, all links available in the bio. 2 bad bowls in a row. Hopefully next week we can break the streak. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National No Pants Day. I swear that's a real thing. Look it up. First Friday in May, people go out in public without wearing pants. Maybe I'm filming this video with no pants right now. You'll never know. Anyway, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 11. Color Me Mine Bowl. My wife and I decorated this Fruit Loops inspired bowl at the DIY pottery shop called Color Me Mine. I think I should head back there and make a new bowl soon. Moving on to the star of the show now, time to roll for cereal. 17. Strawberries and Cream Pebbles. So post-release Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles over 50 years ago in 1971, and they've had tons of different varieties over the years. One of my favorites was Dino Pebbles, released in 1990. It was like a vanilla flavor with marshmallows, but the most recent addition to this Pebbles family is Strawberries and Cream. It's very high on that artificial strawberry flavor, but I like it. I would have added marshmallows to enhance that cream element, but hey, maybe we'll roll marshmallows as we move on to roll for wildcard toppings. 7. Jelly beans and 9. Pop Rocks. No marshmallows today, but at least it's not jerky either. I have these sour jelly bellies which come in 5 different flavors, none of which are strawberry, but at least it's kind of adding some tangy fruit flavor to the bowl. And then for Pop Rocks, I luckily have a strawberry variety here, so this will add just a little more of that strawberry flavor and a lot of popping in my mouth. Wait, that sounded weird. Whatever, moving on. Now to the next ingredient, roll for drizzle. 6. Passion fruit. I think this is the first time we've rolled this drizzle. It's a syrup made of pureed passion fruit, which is a bit sweet and tart. I think it'll be a nice pairing with this cereal and the tart jelly beans. Okay, time for our last ingredient now. Time to roll for milk. 3. Strawberry milk. We just rolled this one either last episode or the one before. It'll go great with the strawberry and cream cereal, but before we pour it, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 13. The Dukes. This cartoon based on the Dukes of Hazzard TV show aired on Saturday mornings in 1983, and I could try to pretend I know what it's about, but look, I never watched or cared about the Dukes of Hazzard. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Maybe the cartoon was fun, I don't know. It was produced by Hanna-Barbera and ran for 20 episodes. Okay, let's hit this bowl with some strawberry milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? The flavors in this bowl are really on point. This strawberries and cream pebbles is delicious all on its own. The passion fruit syrup and sour jelly beans add a nice tanginess to the bowl. The Pop Rocks are fun, and that strawberry milk fits perfectly. But those jelly beans almost turn to rocks when cold milk hits them, and they're tough to chew, so it's not a perfect bowl. I'll give this one 4 stars, and let's call it Romancing the Bean. That's the name of a coffee shop here in LA. It's a play on Romancing the Stone. I think it fits well because this bowl has jelly beans, and the strawberries and passion fruit give me romantic vibes. I'm gonna try to start doing new After These Messages and Discontinued video shorts here during the week, so keep your eyes peeled for more cereal content. Until next time, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National Sleepover Day, so invite your friends over, have a pillow fight, watch scary movies. You're never too old for a sleepover with friends. Alright, let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 8. Cheerios Bowl. This is more like a giant Cheerios mug because of the handle here. Honestly, I don't love bowls with handles. I think they're unnecessary. Moving on to the star of the show now, time to roll for cereal. 3. Cheerios. Well, this is probably the first and last time this will ever happen, getting a cereal and bowl that match. General Mills introduced Cheerios way back in 1941, and they were originally called Cheery Oats. They still have that great oat recipe, which is my favorite cereal grain, but I prefer the different varieties and flavors because regular Cheerios are a little too bland and boring for my taste. It's a great snack if you're a toddler, or it's a great base for adding other ingredients. Luckily, that's our next step here as we grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 17 dried apricots and 19 blackberries. Double fruit, not bad. I have these California slab apricots or apricots from Trader Joe's, and I'll just cut a few of them up into smaller pieces. Then I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here with these remaining blackberries. This batch wasn't super sweet, so both these fruits will add a little sharp tanginess to the bowl. Now let's move on to our next ingredient and roll for drizzle. 4, pineapple. I think this is the first time we've rolled this one. Adding more fruit to this bowl, and this is another sweet and tart fruit, so it should go well with what we have so far. Finally, moving on to our last ingredient now as we roll for milk. 6, oat milk. Well, this oat milk will be right at home alongside its oat brothers that got milled up to make the Cheerios, but before we pour this milk, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 11, raw tunage. Do you remember this short-lived Disney animated series? Probably not. It had a troubled production and premiered back in 1992 during the Eisner years at Disney. It's hard to describe. Each episode was a collection of shorts starring different characters who I don't really know the name of, but one character was Bonkers, I think. Anyway, there were only 12 episodes made, but it's worth tracking down just for the novelty of it. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some oat milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Everything's pretty safe and simple here, nothing that really feels out of place. The plain Cheerios act as a good base or delivery method for other flavors, and those other flavors are a combination of sweet and tart fruits with the dried apricots, the blackberries, and the pineapple syrup. Kind of like a very underwhelming fruit salad. Not bad, but it's honestly a bit forgettable, so I'll give this one 3.5 stars, and let's call it Tangy Oats. I usually try to think of how I could improve these combos, but for this one I'd probably just prefer a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios and some sliced bananas. Maybe keep the pineapple drizzle. Again, not a bad bowl, just not very inspired from a creative standpoint. Hopefully next week we get something a little more interesting. I'll see you on Friday for another Roll for Cereal. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National Barbecue Day, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention the awesome Roll for Barbecue series done by Michigan Barbecue Addicts. If you've never watched that one, definitely check it out. Alright, let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 6, Christmas Bowl. Well, it's only May, but I guess it's never too early for some holiday cheer. We got a little snowman and snowflakes on this Christmas bowl. Alright, moving on to the star of the show now. Time to roll for cereal. 12, Crispy Strawberry Hearts. So this is a Japanese cereal from a brand called Nissin. One of my good friends often travels to Japan and he always picks up some fun snacks and candies for me. This time he brought back this awesome resealable bag of strawberry flavored, crunchy, crispy, heart-shaped, I guess it's cereal. I know cereal isn't super popular in Japan, but this stuff has a nice strong strawberry flavor and a good crunch to it. Let's see what we'll add to this stuff as we grab 2 D20s and roll for wild cards. 9, peanut butter pretzels and 14 raisins. Not the worst options here. I love these peanut butter filled pretzel nuggets from Trader Joe's. They're so addicting. A little big for a cereal topping, but they do have a nice salty peanut butter flavor that could work with the strawberry cereal. And then the raisins are always a good cereal topping in my book. Peanut butter and raisins go great together, especially with some celery. I love ants on a log. Alright, moving on to our next ingredient now as we roll for drizzle. 9, coconut cream. This cream of coconut has a nice sweet rich flavor, but I always make the mistake of not letting it thaw out before pouring it, so it's not as creamy or syrupy as I'd want it to be. Moving on to our last ingredient now, time to roll for milk. 2, blue milk. This is usually where I talk about milking the banthas to get this blue milk, but today I want to ask, what do we think about this new non-Skywalker Star Wars movie coming with Ryan Gosling? Cautiously optimistic? Anyway, before we pour this blue milk, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 22, Immortal Technique, one of the best and most underrated, in my opinion. Technique's sophomore album, Revolutionary Volume 2, might be up there in my top 10 albums of all time. He's got such a presence on the mic, and the messages in his songs are always on point and much needed in our current time. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some blue milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? This is a surprisingly really dope combination. The peanut butter pretzels have this salty quality about them that go perfectly with the strawberry flavored Japanese cereal, and then the raisins add some nice sweet chewiness, and that coconut cream gives the whole thing a rich, decadent taste. It's almost like peanut butter and jelly sandwich with some crunchy pretzel sticks in between the bread. Not perfect, but I'll give this one 4 stars and let's call it Peanut Butter Cupid. I remember when I was in Japan years ago, it was hard to find cereal at the grocery stores, but I did find a Frosted Flakes waffle one with Tony on the front and a Winnie the Pooh cereal as well. Anyone from Japan who's watching, what are some Japanese cereals I should check out? Alright, don't forget the Substack in my bio. I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is National Road Trip Day, so get out there and hit the pavement, drive somewhere for Memorial Day weekend. Me, I think I'll stay home and avoid the traffic. Alright, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 4, Cap'n Crunch Bowl. Not sure we've rolled this one before. This is a Cap'n Crunch bowl that is promoting literacy and reading, encouraging people to crack open a book. The bowl's kind of shallow and small, but that might be a good thing if we roll bad ingredients. Alright, on to the star of the show now. Time to roll for cereal. 10. Apple Cinnamon Cheerios. This delicious variety of Cheerios was first released back in 1988. They had some good memorable commercials for this cereal. I love this stuff when it came out. You can see what the early box looked like. Now for those new here, this box is empty. I'm just using a new fresh bag from a current Apple Cinnamon Cheerios box. The recipe these days has changed a bit and it's not as tasty as it used to be, but still one of my favorite Cheerio varieties. Alright, now let's grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 8 Dunkaroos and 16 walnuts. Pretty good toppings today. Dunkaroos are a classic 90s snack that has been reintroduced to a new generation. These are little cinnamon cookies that you dunk into sweet, rich frosting. I'll add these frosted coated cookies to the bowl, and then for walnuts, they should be a good addition to the Apple Cinnamon Cheerios. They'll add a nice crunchy texture, and walnuts are a great source of fatty acids. Moving on now to our next ingredient, it's time to roll for drizzle. 10 banana. I love this banana puree syrup and I'll often drizzle it over some steel cut oats with fresh bananas. It's a good flavor to pair with everything we have here in this bowl. On to our final ingredient now, time to roll for milk. 7 almond milk. Nice simple milk alternative and one of my favorites. I have this Costco brand almond milk, but before we pour it we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 19 Space Star. So this cartoon was a little before my time, but I've watched episodes online. It came out in 1981 and it was an hour-long show that featured 5 segments: Space Ghost, the Herculoids, Teen Force, Astro and the Space Mutts, and the Space Stars finale. The cartoons would sometimes cross over into one another. It's a fun retro cartoon. You should check it out. They only made 11 episodes. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some almond milk, and now moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Yep, this one is definitely a great bowl. All these flavors really mesh well together. You got Apple Cinnamon Cheerios, which are more cinnamon than apple, and the Dunkaroo cookies are cinnamon too. Then you have the crunchy walnuts, the banana syrup, and to top it all off, you have this sweet, rich frosting. It's just a really, really good bowl. I'm gonna give this one 5 stars, and let's call it Peel Good Cake. This stuff tastes like banana cake with walnuts and cinnamon and sweet cream cheese frosting. I've got no notes. Each spoonful with frosting is like a delicious sweet treat. I think Dunkaroos are a surprisingly good cereal topping. Who knew? Don't forget to sign up for my Substack if you want Roll for Cereal episodes delivered to your inbox every week. I'll see you back here next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today's National Creativity Day. Go make something, write something, film a TikTok, make music, dance. The world needs your voice and creativity. Stop getting in your own way and go create something. And we're gonna create a great bowl today, starting as always with Roll for Bowl. 12 Spilt Milk Bowl, my favorite bowl to eat cereal from for the past decade. This squishy silicone bowl is made by the company called Genuine Fred, and you can buy it on their website and maybe in the TikTok shop too. Alright, on to the star of the show now. Let's roll for cereal. 7, add another cereal. So it looks like we'll get at least a 2 cereal combo today. Let's grab 2 dice and see what we get. 1 Glazed Crave and 2 Pizza Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Not a great start. So unlike regular Crave, which is my least favorite cereal, this glazed donut hole version is just little chocolate corn puffs, and since we're here, we might as well grab the Totino's inspired Pizza Cinnamon Toast Crunch bag as well. Wish it was the French toast version there underneath it. 2 not great cereals here to start things off. Kellogg's made glazed donut hole versions of Frosted Flakes and Apple Jacks too, and they're just as underwhelming as this Crave one. Not awful, just kind of bland and boring. As for the Pizza Cinnamon Toast Crunch, it's not too bad as a dry snack to munch on. It's got a slight pizza flavor with the balance of cinnamon sugar, but it's definitely not a good cereal you should eat with milk. I'll get these 2 subpar cereals mixed up here, and now we gotta grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 3 pickled jelly beans and 6 Inca corn snack. Oof, the hits just keep coming. So Claussen made some pickle flavored jelly beans and they taste like dill pickles. And I like pickles, but not really as a sweet candy. I think I put way too many of them on here too. The Inca corn snacks are from Trader Joe's, and these giant corn kernels are salty and crunchy and addictive, but I don't think we need more salty or savory things added to this already weird cereal combo. Let's see if it gets any worse as we roll for drizzle. 11 chocolate. Nothing wrong with a little chocolate syrup, especially when you have a chocolate cereal, but I don't think this normal and delicious drizzle will be able to save things here. Finally, on to our last ingredient as we roll for milk. 4 chocolate milk. Chocolate on chocolate on chocolate. If it was just those 3 flavors, I'd be excited to try this, but before we pour this milk, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 18, Exhibit. I think everyone knows Exhibit as a pop culture figure from Pimp My Ride, but he's an underrated MC too. His debut album, At the Speed of Life, came out in 1996, right when I got my driver's license, and I used to play it on repeat in my car all the time. Great classic album. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some chocolate milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Nope, not even close. Look, there's really only one ingredient here that truly ruins this bowl, and that's these stupid pickled jelly beans. So you got the glazed donut crave, the salty corn snack, and chocolate syrup and milk. By themselves, not too bad, but every time I get a jelly bean, it's hard to keep it down. I'm giving this one half a star, and let's call it the chocolate delusion. The only reason I didn't give it 0 stars is because when I'm able to avoid the pickled jelly beans, it's actually not too bad, but then the longer the jelly beans soak in the milk, the more that flavor seeps into everything. You can see I left a lot of them in the bowl. I don't like wasting food, but these aren't really food, are they? Alright, hope you sickos enjoy my suffering. Maybe we'll get a better bowl next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today's National Donut Day. What's your favorite donut? Last time I had my favorite donut, I got violently ill, and now I can't eat that flavor anymore because the sense memory is too strong. Anyway, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 5. Crown Bowl. I got this Crown Bowl from General Mills last year when they sent it along with a box of loaded cereal. It's a good looking bowl, but not very practical for drinking the milk afterwards. Moving on to the star of the show now, time to roll for cereal. 11. Add another cereal. Always a good day when we roll a 2 cereal combo. Let's grab another dice here and see what we get today. 17. Cinnamon Toast Crunch and 19. Orange Cream Pop Crunch, 2 great cereals. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, one of my favorites, released by General Mills back in 1984. They've had many varieties and flavors, but the OG is still the best. My only critique for this classic cereal is replacing the 3 Baker mascots with the crazy squares they use today. Wish they at least brought Wendell back for a limited time. Now, Orange Cream Pop Crunch is a Cap'n Crunch variety. It was first released back in the summer of 2016, and it might be my favorite Cap'n Crunch variety ever released. I'm clearly not the only one who loved it because Cap'n re-released the flavor for this summer. Still wish they'd go back to the old normal-looking Cap'n on the front of the boxes, but let's get these 2 cereals mixed up together here in this bowl, and now it's time to grab 2 D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 13 cereal Marbits and 10 Prize Inside. If you're new here, Prize Inside is a box filled with cards, or prizes if you will. Those cards feature different characters that you might recognize as classic cereal mascots. Each character gives us a task or unique ability. Just like prizes in cereal boxes, some are good and some are bad. We'll draw 1 card and follow the instructions on it. The Bear. Learn a craft. This card tells us we have to roll for a Roll For series, an episode here on TikTok, and then we have to make and eat or drink whatever dish we roll. I guess we'll venture out into the Roll For cinematic universe next episode and see what we can scrounge up. But for now, let's get these Prize Inside cards back into their box to be drawn another day. And let's get back to this bowl where we have another topping to add, cereal Marbits. I still have a bag of St. Patrick's themed Lucky Charms marshmallows from a couple months ago. Marbits are always a good addition to any bowl of cereal. Now on to our next ingredient. Time to roll for drizzle. 3. Passion fruit. This passion fruit puree syrup has a strong flavor to it. It'll add some nice tanginess, which should go well with that citrusy Cap'n Crunch cereal. Moving on now to our last ingredient. It's time to roll for milk. 8. Cow's milk. It's been a minute since we rolled this one. Those who've seen these episodes know I'm lactose intolerant, which is a cruel trick the cereal gods played on me in my 20s, so I use lactose-free milk. But before we pour, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 13. The Adventures of Hyperman. I was a little too old for this cartoon when it premiered back in 1995 on CBS. It was based on a video game of the same name, and it featured Hyperman and his sidekicks Stub Puppy and Emma C. Squared as they battled the evil Entrobe and Kid Chaos. I'll be honest, I doubt many of you watched this or even remember this show. It ran for 13 episodes. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some milk, and now moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? Whenever we roll Prize Inside, I feel like we get lucky because that usually means only 1 topping, which gives us better odds, and today's no exception. Everything works together really well. That Orange Cream Pop Crunch with marshmallows and passion fruit syrup, it's a pretty tasty combination. Despite my love for Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I think this would probably be better without that cereal, so I'm gonna give this one 4.5 stars, and let's call it the Passionate Creamsicle. It's not that the Cinnamon Toast Crunch is a bad flavor in the bowl, but in some bites it overpowers the delicious Orange Cream Pop flavor, and that's the one I'm really looking for. As I mentioned, the spice on on this bowl make it impossible to drink up the milk afterwards, so we'll just leave that there for now. Next week, we have a departure from our regularly scheduled program as we roll for a different food or drink and try a concoction from another Roll For creator. Excited to see what we get, but also a little scared. See you back here next week. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll For Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. But that is not what we're doing on today's episode, because last time we pulled this bear card during Prize Inside, and it instructs us to roll for an episode of another Roll For series here on TikTok, and then we'll make and eat or drink that concoction. I've narrowed it down to a list of 8 contenders today. Apologies if your favorite one is not on here, but we're either going to roll for pickle, for salad, for girl dinner, for pizza, for barbecue, for soda, for breakfast, or the OG Roll For sandwich. We've done that last one before, way back in episode 34 when I first pulled the bear card. All right, let's see what it's going to be today. 3. Roll For Girl Dinner. This is a relatively new entry to the Roll For series. Kendra, the creator, started with a Roll For Chores series, which has now evolved into rolling for a mishmash of ingredients to make dinner. There are about 30 episodes, I think, so we'll use a D30 to choose the episode for today's dinner, and hopefully it'll work out. Looks like we got episode number 13.
Hey bitches, welcome to episode 13 of Roll For Girl Dinner.
Kendra usually just tosses everything on a plate, but I decided to use this tiki volcano bowl. Now, through the magic of editing, I'll make it look like I had all these ingredients in my house and definitely didn't film this over 2 days after going to the grocery store.
Now let's get started with Roll For Protein. 7. Pepperoni.
Okay, so I got some uncured all-natural pepperoni here. I'll take a nice handful of slices and place them into our volcano bowl.
Now let's roll for some cheese. 4. Gruyere.
So as some of you know, I'm lactose intolerant, but I took a couple Lactaid today for this video because I didn't want to substitute out any of her ingredients. Let's keep it moving and see what else we got.
Now let's roll for some vegetables. That's a 3 for green beans and a 6 for cherry tomatoes.
So I have a handful of trimmed raw green beans that we can stick over here in our bowl, and then I also have some ripe and juicy snacking cherry tomatoes that won't stay put in this bowl.
And let's see what we get for Carrier. 4. Potato chips.
So I guess Carrier is just a delivery vehicle for these ingredients. She had the nacho flavored version of these sweet potato chips in her video, but I couldn't find that flavor, so I just went with the regular sea salt.
Let's roll for some Razzle Dazzle. That's a 9 for peppercini and a 17 for dried apricots.
I have the same jar of pepperoncinis that she had, so my pepper experts out there, what's the difference between these and banana peppers? And then we have these California slab apricots from Trader Joe's, or you can call them apricots. Neither one is incorrect. Let's bring it home now with the final ingredient.
Moving on to the roll for sauce. 6. Spicy chili crisp.
So chili crisp is usually just chili peppers marinated in oil with maybe some onions and fermented soybeans and some spices. I have this perfect little top of the volcano to put this chili crisp sauce in for dipping. Moment of truth now, let's see if these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of girl dinner. So I'll take a page out of Kendra's book and try to assemble a mini pizza here with these potato chips, some pepperoni, some cheese, a little pepperoncini, maybe a cherry tomato, and then hopefully a little dip of that chili crisp. I knew this would be harder than it looked. The green beans and apricots will have to wait their turn. It's a pretty tasty bite of food. There's nothing in this bowl that I don't like. Well, I mean, maybe the Gruyere cheese. It's not that I don't like it, it's that my stomach doesn't. But overall, this is a fun little snacking bowl with a bunch of stuff that I can attempt to dip into the chili crisp. I think maybe having 2 sauces, like a ranch or something for veggies, might have been a good balance. While this isn't my concoction, I'm still gonna rate it and name it. So let's give it 4 stars, and let's call it the Bizarre Cootery Bowl. One of the fun things Kendra stumbled upon here was the combination of dried apricots and spicy chili crisp. That's a hot and sweet and tangy combo that I really love. I'm thinking I might have to add some spicy chili crisp as a drizzle in a future roll for cereal. Okay, well, we successfully completed the bear card and made it out with no scratches or injuries, and now we'll never draw this card again, at least until the Prize Inside deck resets in a future season. Please make sure you go check out all the other Roll For creators. I've tagged them in the description. Substack and bio if you want Roll For cereals delivered to your inbox weekly. I'll see you back here next Friday for another regular episode. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll For Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today is officially the first day of summer. When I was a kid, I couldn't wait for school to get out and for summer to finally start. You got any fun summer vacation plans? Alright, let's get started as always with Roll For Bowl. 10. Silly Billy Bowl. I love this little guy with his ceramic feet. People say he looks like Cuphead, and I can definitely see the resemblance. Moving on to the star of the show now, time to roll for cereal. 15. Cocoa Krispies. This cereal was released by Kellogg's in 1958, 30 years after original Rice Krispies hit shelves. They've had different mascots over the years, including Jose the Monkey, Snagglepuss, a caveman, and this Tusk the Elephant character. Nowadays, it's just Snap, Crackle, and Pop, at least on US boxes. The cereal has different names and mascots all over the world. It's pretty popular internationally. I think these are called Cocoa Pops in the UK, right? Alright, now time to break out 2D20s and roll for wildcard toppings. 15. Mini Mochi, and 20. Player's Choice. I'm back and forth between raspberries and shredded coconut, but I think I'm gonna go with coconut on this one. These coconut flakes are a great pairing with chocolate flavored cereal, Cocoa Krispies, and Cocoa Nuts. Great combo there. And then of course we have my favorite cereal topping, these rainbow colored mini mochis. I'm trying a new brand for these sweet glutinous little rice nuggets today, but I love their chewy texture more than cereal marshmallows. Alright, now on to the next ingredient. Time to roll for drizzle. 7. Bourbon vanilla bean paste. So my wife picked this up from Trader Joe's. Apparently it's great in coffee. I wouldn't know, but I use it on yogurt sometimes. It's tasty and that bourbon flavor isn't too strong. I think it should mix well with the chocolate and coconut flavors. On to our final ingredient now. Time to roll for milk. 8. Cow's milk. We just rolled this one for our last bowl of cereal. I'm lactose intolerant, so I use Lactaid for my milk of choice. But before we pour, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 20. Das EFX, Bum Stickety Bum Stickety Bum. This duo of Dre and Scoop released their debut album in 1992 and it went platinum thanks to the lead single, They Want FX. They had a unique rapping style that some people clown them for today, but they were a great early 90s hip hop duo and a big influence on the culture. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some milk, and now a moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So there's nothing here not to like. Cocoa Krispies are a great cereal. I like them better than regular Rice Krispies. Then the coconut flakes and that bourbon vanilla drizzle blend really nice with the chocolate flavor. The one small critique I have for this bowl is the mini mochi, which is kind of crazy for me, but there's a reason for it and I'll tell you in a second. First, let's give this bowl 4 stars and we'll call it Down in Kokomo. That's a Beach Boys reference. Cocoa Krispies, coconuts, mochi, Kokomo. So here's the thing with the mini mochi, I messed up. This new brand I bought is actually fruit flavored mochi, which are still pretty tasty and would go well with some cereals, but I just wasn't really expecting those fruit flavors and they clashed a bit for me here. Live and learn, I guess. Alright, I'll see you back here next Friday. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Today's National Bingo Day. The only time I've ever played bingo was on a cruise ship. I got nothing against it, but I don't think it deserved its own national day. Anyway, let's get started as always with Roll for Bowl. 6. Ramen bowl. This large ramen bowl comes with a slot to stick your chopsticks. It also comes with its own spoon, but we're not going to use it because I don't like giving the roll for spoon psychos any ideas. Moving on to the star of the show now, time to roll for cereal. 5. Chocolate Frosted Mini Wheats. Kellogg's first introduced this cereal way back in 1969, and they originally came in these large-sized rectangles that you could split up in your bowl. They introduced the bite-sized portion in 1980, and then those eventually just became the regular version that's on shelves today. They've had many varieties over the year with different fillings and frostings. This new cocoa flavor has regular frosting, but they also have a little filling of chocolate inside that turns your milk chocolatey. They're pretty tasty to snack on. Alright, let's grab 2D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 5. Starburst, and 8. Fruit snacks. Not the best toppings for a chocolate cereal, but could be worse. I have these mini Starbursts, which are easy to sprinkle on a bowl of cereal, but I prefer if it was just the strawberry ones. That would be a good flavor combo for this chocolatey bowl. Then I have these Harry Potter themed fruit snacks. They come in a bunch of different flavors and Harry Potter shapes. I'll grab a Slytherin pouch. I think they're the same fruit snacks no matter which house you choose. Is everyone excited for the Harry Potter TV show? Me neither. Moving on to the next ingredient now, time to roll for drizzle. 9. Apple. This is like a crisp green Granny Smith apple puree syrup. It has a tangy tartness to it, almost like a green sour apple candy, but less artificial in flavor. Finally, moving on to our last ingredient, time to roll for milk. 3. Strawberry milk. A chocolatey cereal with strawberry milk is always a good combo, but it's the other ingredients here that I'm worried about. Before we pour this milk, we gotta see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 21, Ren and Stimpy, one of the first 3 original Nicktoons released alongside Rugrats and Doug back in August of 1991. It's about the misadventures of Ren, the unstable chihuahua, and Stimpy, the good-natured and dim-witted cat. It was irreverent with dark humor, adult innuendos, shock value. I think they were planning a reboot, but not sure if that's happening because the original creator was a problematic bad dude. The show ran for 5 seasons with about 50 episodes. Let's hit this bowl with some strawberry milk, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So much potential here, but not quite a home run. The Cocoa Frosted Mini Wheats with the strawberry milk and just the strawberry Starburst would have been a nice bowl, but the multiple fruit flavors of the fruit snacks and Starburst mixed with that tart apple flavor, well, they just don't blend well with chocolate. And these Starbursts are too hard and chewy for a cereal topping. I'm only going to give this one 3 stars, and let's call it Choco Berry Orchard. That's 2 weeks in a row where the variety of fruit flavors drags things down. Maybe I should stop picking toppings that come in multiple flavors. Just adds too much chaos. Don't forget to add your email to rollforcereal.substack.com if you want new videos delivered to your inbox every week. It's a good way to make sure you never miss out on this series if something happens to this app in the future. I'll see you next Friday for another new episode of Roll for Cereal. Until then, stay crunchy. What's up, cereal heads? Welcome back to Roll for Cereal, a series where I let the dice help me craft a unique bowl of cereal from a mix of ingredients. Happy 4th of July if you live in the US, though if you're like me, I can't imagine you feel very patriotic or proud to be an American these days, or really any days. If you're not from the US, please know that most of us are not evil and racist, even if our government and the billionaires who control them might be. Alright, let's get things started as always with Roll for Bowl. 7. Silipint Bowl. Not quite as fun as the spilt milk bowl, but these squishy, tie-dyed silicone bowls from Silipint are still fun to eat cereal out of. Speaking of which, let's move on to the star of the show now and roll for cereal. 18. Reese's Puffs. I always sing the Reese's Puffs rap in my head whenever I roll this cereal. First released by General Mills back in 1994, this chocolate and peanut butter cereal is a classic, probably my favorite peanut butter cereal on shelves today. They recently did a collaboration with WNBA star Angel Reese. She plays for the Chicago Sky right now. She had a great college career. I think she'll have a great pro career too. Alright, let's grab 2 D20s now and roll for wildcard toppings. 7. Fruit by the Foot, and 12. Dried mango. I ate so many Fruit by the Foots growing up, or is it Fruit by the Feet? Whatever, the normal ones are 3 feet long. These king size rolls are about 5 feet. This one is strawberry flavored, and I can't put the entire thing on the bowl, but I'll just cut up a bunch of pieces and add it on top of the Reese's Puffs. Next we have the dried mango. Just like Fruit by the Foot, I'm going to use scissors to cut off a bunch of smaller pieces of these dried mangoes. Both fruit flavors might go well with the peanut butter and chocolate. Moving on now to the next ingredient, time to roll for drizzle. 3. Cookie icing. I have this Betty Crocker white cookie icing, which doesn't really have much flavor besides sugar, which isn't really a flavor, but it'll make things a little sweeter, and it looks kind of cool presentation-wise too. On to the last ingredient now, time to roll for milk. 1. Gatorade. Well, there goes what could have been a great bowl. I have a fruit punch flavored Gatorade, so at least that's still in the fruity flavor arena, but no one eats cereal with Gatorade. Before we pour it, let's see if we'll be listening to tunes or watching cartoons today. 3. Cops. This cartoon premiered back in 1988 and it was based on the Hasbro action figures of the same name. The concept was a bunch of crime-fighting cops battling bad guys in Empire City. I had some of these toys and vehicles when I was a kid. I know the idea of police officers being crime-fighting good guys is a ridiculous concept and the show is pretty bad, but some people online say about 40% of the episodes were good. You can go ahead and Google 40% of cops if you want to learn more. Alright, let's hit this bowl with some fruit punch Gatorade, and now, moment of truth. Will these ingredients come together to create a great bowl of cereal? So there's a lot of potential here. The Reese's Puffs and the strawberry Fruit by the Foot are great together, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and the dried mango adds a little welcome tanginess or tartness to the bowl. The cookie icing is just another dose of sugar, almost like a marshmallow element, but come on, you can't eat cereal with some non-milk liquid. It's just so watery and feels wrong. I wanted to love it, but I'm giving this one 2.5 stars, and let's call it Punchy Peanut Puffs. It could have been worse with a lemon lime or blue Gatorade. Those flavors would have clashed with the peanut butter cereal more than fruit punch, but still a really disappointing end to what could have been a 5-star bowl if I had gotten some creamy regular milk instead. I don't think there's any cereal that would work with Gatorade. Does anybody out there eat their cereal with non-milk liquids? If so, what is wrong with you? Alright, well, I'll see you back here next Friday for another episode. Until then, stay crunchy.